I've been waiting to talk about this for like 3 weeks, I think.
Okay.
I didn't know that Canandaigua was going to be the local community that jumped on board with this attempt to ban single-use plastic straws. But it's been done. San Francisco, Seattle, larger cities mainly, but now we're starting to see it trickle down to the local level. So the numbers basically bear out to say that, each person creates around 88 pounds of plastic waste per year. That's 300 million metric tons in all in 2015 of plastic waste, which is pretty incredible. Now there's this debate around straws, and it's interesting to me because I hate straws to begin with. I feel like we've all graduated from the sippy cup, and we don't need an assist when we're drinking, anything. That said, I get it. I know people, it's not to say I never use straws. If in the morning when I get my iced coffee, in the car, it's kind of tough to navigate the lid situation and straw, I get that. But there's a few things. So I don't like straws. I also hate the whole idea of paper straws. Is that not strange to you? Like, to me, that's just because it takes this whole concept of like, well, it can be recycled.
Right.
Does that mean it will be recycled?
Right. Yeah. I mean, even if it's not, I guess it would break down faster than a plastic straw would. But I'm with you. I don't understand straws. I'm not going to say I've never used a straw, because sometimes when you order a drink, the straw's already in it.
Yep.
And then even if you set it on the table, they're not going to reuse it. They're not going to put it in somebody else's drink. So for me, I think all of these laws, whether they pass or not, all of these attempts, whether it's plastic grocery bags, plastic straws, are all an attempt to just get people to think for a second about what's going on. Like, if for some reason, I don't know, if you've got some kind of medical condition that you need to use a straw, well, then there should be no reason that you can't have access to one, But for a waitress to come over, hand everybody a glass of water, which some people don't even drink the water that they're given at the table, and then they have a straw in each of those, yeah, that seems like unnecessarily wasteful. So if this causes people to say, you know what, from now on straws are just going to be optional, that would be a start. That would be a great thing. But I do think, I don't know that we have a constitutional right to straws. I don't know if that is something that people are going to get upset about and say, you can't take my straws, and you can get my straw over my dead body. Like, I'm not really sure it's going to be a showdown in that way. But
I think it does put businesses in a weird spot. So if you own a restaurant, I think there is sort of like a reteaching, I guess, that would have to happen, and sort of a relearning of, how we do things, and, what the alternatives are. And because the other thing, too, that I always think about when it comes to the straw, I know some of my friends use the reusable straws, like the stainless steel ones.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Are you putting them through the dishwasher? Are you
I don't know.
How are you washing? Like, to me, a straw is just, I'm afraid of utensils that like have nuanced little like crevices and like lips on them, because I wonder like how effectively you can really clean them to begin with. And I just wonder, like, this is just another example to me, like, how clean can that really stay? And then we've got a new problem that we're introducing into the situation: dirty straws.
Now, see, the way I see it is, this is the same reason we should get rid of hand sanitizer, right? Like, we could all do to have a little more exposure to germs. It's good for our immune systems.
No.
No, I am not saying that they should be providing us reusable straws. I just don't know. I'm not a straw lover, so this to me just seems like, stop just automatically putting a straw in every drink. If businesses can just have some available, if you need one, you get one. If you don't need one, then
listen,
you're fine.
I know it's only a matter of time before we see a letter to the editor or something in one of the publications, whether it's the Messenger or the Times, or here on Finger Lakes one, where somebody says, I own a business and this is going to result in me having to raise prices. I almost can just guarantee it.
Yeah,
I don't know what plastic straws actually cost a bar or a restaurant. I don't. But you know what? I'm sure the reusable option. I'm not really sure how a business would handle that situation. And since it's always, oh no, more regulation, and I'm sympathetic to that because that seems to be the trend. I don't really know that this is one of those hills that, folks should think about dying on.
Yeah, yeah.
Straws. Imagine that. We're talking about straws. It's sad. So another interesting story, big story up in Geneva. Two of them, actually. The Welcome Center. Mm-hmm. What's going on with that? What's going on up there? So most people probably saw the WHEC story.
Yes.
The investigative report where some astronomical numbers were exposed for little construction tidbits here or there throughout that process. Yeah. But it seems like there's more, right?
Well, it's actually two different issues the way I see it. There's the WHEC report that was generally talking about how the state funded its portion. And I mean, granted, all the money came from the state, but some of it was administered directly by the state, and some of it was administered by the city using the state's money. And I think that the first issue that was raised by WHEC, was the particular line items that the state had authorized. For example, they touted the fact that the canoes that make up the lights were donated, but the sign letting you know that they were donated, they spent $1,000 framing the sign to tell you about the donated canoes. So yes, this is another one of those situations where you hear about the government buying a $6,000 hammer or something, right? And that, I think, was the angle of the WHEC report. But then the state, to try to say, well, don't focus on us too much. We're only a quarter of the issue. The rest of the money was administered by the city of Geneva, kind of passed the buck over to Geneva, and that is what resulted in the Geneva Believers' FOIL request for the contracts, the invoices, the payments, to try to see if there was the same order of magnitude. Were the contractors for this being paid, $30,000 to put in a single light fixture or something? And I think the disappointing part of this request, which you're putting up on the screen, is that actually it appears that the paperwork is not readily at their fingertips. And that is a concern because the project is pretty new and it was a substantial project, and anything having to do with the state in general generates a lot of paperwork, duplicative, redundant paperwork. So that is certainly raising eyebrows, especially following a Finger Lakes Times piece that was, why do Massa and Iverson always seem to be the only contractors who get it? And the answer to this was that Iverson was contracted by the city to handle the bid process, and the bids went to Massa. So now you've got both contractors in one major project, and we're looking at, like $4 million that, well, looks like there's not an adequate paper trail for. Now, I'd like to give the city the benefit of the doubt that they do have this, that maybe the documents they don't have on hand were documents that had to be sent to the state for reimbursement, and that eventually those might be made available. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess the only upside is that it's not our individual City of Geneva property taxes at stake. I think obviously the downside is that it is our New York State property taxes collectively paid into that are at stake. Mm-hmm. And after the City Hall renovation debacle of the summertime, where the contract, again involving Massa, was under question, and you had a city councilor who used to be or may still be a subcontractor, like kind of lobbying for a quick award without a lot of scrutiny. it just doesn't look good. It looks haphazard.